We live in interesting times. For the headlines. 4 people are killed when gunmen armed with hand grenades and a suicide vest stormed the Chinese consulate in the Pakistani city of Karachi. Justice Secretary Leonardo Guevara expressed confidence about securing conviction against the suspects in the Maguindanao massacre case. Nissan's former chairman, Carlos Ghosn, underreported his income by a total of $71 million, much more than initially suspected. And Samsung Electronics apologized to workers who developed cancer after working at some of its factories. I'm Alma Angeles, wherever you're watching from around the world. Thank you very much for joining us. And now to the news. Justice Secretary Leonardo Guevara on Friday expressed confidence about securing conviction against the suspects in the Maguindanao massacre case. Guevara told reporters during the 9th anniversary of the massacre that the prosecution of those involved in the incident will be completed early next year. He assured that the government panel handling the case had already hurdled the formidable obstacles. The 58 victims were on their way to accompany the filing of a certificate of candidacy for Ismail Manguda Datu, vice mayor of Buluan Town, when they were abducted and then killed. The gruesome incident with 58 victims, including 32 journalists, is considered as the worst election-related violence and worst attack on journalists in Philippine history. Guevara also said that he's confident that the government will secure a conviction. At least for the principal accused, the evidence appears to be very strong from the DOJ's point of view, he said. The families of the victims welcome this development.
Hanggang ngayon, napakahirap tanggapin ang nangyari. Hindi ako nakaka-move on. Nandito pa rin yung sakit sa puso ko, yung galit dahil sa 9 years na po. Hindi pa namin nakuha ang hustisya na inaasam-asam namin. Yun din ang pinagtataka namin, yung klase ng proseso sa justice system natin na sobrang katagal. Enough naman yung ebidensya na naipresenta sa korte po.
Yung lumaki na walang ina, na may kasamang 4 na kapatid at may anak na isa. Walang ina, walang ama. Yung lola ko, hindi makalakad. Namatay na lang siya na lumalaban dito sa hustisya para sa mga nabiktima sa Ampatuan Maguindanao Massacre. Kaya ngayon, nandito ako kasi ako na po ang magpapatuloy ng kaso ng mama ko.
9 years have passed since the infamous Maguindanao massacre happened on November 23, 2009. Meanwhile, 4 people were killed on Friday when gunmen armed with hand grenades and a suicide vest stormed the Chinese consulate in the Pakistani city of Karachi, with the attack claimed by a separatist group which branded Beijing an oppressor. Chinese Foreign Ministry spokesman Geng Shuang said all consular staff and their families were safe following the shooting, which was claimed by the separatist group. Pakistani authorities said that security forces had secured the area after the attack, the latest assault on Chinese nationals in the country, where Beijing has poured billions of dollars into one of the largest projects in its massive Belt and Road program. China strongly condemned the attack and asked Pakistan to take measures to ensure the safety of Chinese citizens and institutions in the country, as well as the China-Pakistan Economic Corridor, or CPEC, mega project. The attack was claimed by a separatist militant group from Pakistan's southwestern province of Balochistan, which is at the center of the China-Pakistan Economic Corridor, the major Chinese project in the country. The BLA later emailed a statement to media in which it said the attack was, quote, aimed at making it clear that China's military expansionism on Balochi soil will not be tolerated. It warned the Chinese to leave or be prepared for continued attacks. A former Indonesian domestic worker in a high-profile abuse case said she was sad and disappointed after her employer, who was jailed for starving and beating her, walked free before finishing her sentence. Erwiana Sulistia Ningsi became the face of abused maids in Hong Kong after pictures showed how she was imprisoned, starved, and violently beaten by her former employer. Lau Wan Tung was sentenced to 6 years in prison in 2015 for grievous bodily harm, assault, criminal intimidation, and failure to pay wages, and was ordered by a court last year to pay more than $100,000 in damages. But Lau secured an early release from prison a few months ago, according to the South China Morning Post, reported Wednesday, citing a lawyer from the city's Justice Department. Erwiana expressed her disappointment Thursday and said the 6-year sentence was not enough for the terrible crimes that she committed against me and the other victims. She said, quote, she tortured me, held me captive, denied me rest, and refused to pay me any wages. It is my hope, she said, that Lau Wan Tung can admit to her wrongdoings, apologize to the victims, and resolve to never do the same thing to anyone ever again. Now, Tutik Lestari Ningsi, another former maid from Indonesia of Lau, said the news made her feel very unsafe because Lau had previously threatened to kill her.
Jadi yang saya takutkan di sini karena ancaman tersebut, jika waktu saya atau ke pasar atau saya liburan, ada seseorang atau tidak menutup kemungkinan dia menyuruh orang lain untuk membunuh saya seperti ancaman-ancaman dia. Yang saya takutkan di sini, ancaman ini menjadi kenyataan.
Prison inmates can receive a 1/3 sentence reduction on good behavior, although Lau had not yet served adequate time of her sentence for this to apply. More than 340,000 domestic helpers work in Hong Kong, mostly from the Philippines and Indonesia, often performing menial tasks for low wages while living in poor conditions. Indonesia wrapped up the grim task of identifying Lion Air jet crash victims from recovered body parts with a preliminary report on the cause of the accident that killed 189 people due next week. The Boeing 737 MAX jet, one of the world's newest and most advanced commercial planes, plunged into the Java Sea on October 29, shortly after taking off from capital Jakarta to Pangkal Pinang City, killing all on board. Now, since then, investigators have been doing DNA testing on recovered body parts. As of Friday, 125 people have been identified after testing on human remains that filled some 200 body bags, according to Arthur Tampi, head of the National Police Medical Center. Budget carrier Lion Air has said it is paying a little over $100,000 in compensation to the families of each crash victim. The smashed jet's flight data recorder was recovered, but divers are still looking for the cockpit voice recorder. A formal preliminary report on what might have caused the crash is due Wednesday. So far, investigators have said the doomed plane had problems with its airspeed indicator and angle of attack, or AOA sensors, prompting Boeing to issue a special bulletin directing operators what to do when they face the same situation. In other news, President Duterte has urged Congress to pass a bill reinstating the mandatory Reserved Officers Training Corps, or ROTC, for senior high school students to instill patriotism and love of the country. The mandatory ROTC program for college students started in 1912, but was made optional and voluntary in 2002 after some cadets died from hazing, including University of Santo Tomas student Mark Wilson Chua, who exposed corruption in the organization.
Look, that simple hazing has resulted in an aberration of our country. Wala na akong deep bench na mahatak kasi ang next Filipino wala nang alam. Kulang ang patriotism. Ang gusto, pasyal, inom, hit-hit. Doon dahil sa nawala ang ROTC. Wala na akong ma-expect na pagkamatay ko, yan si Polong hindi dumaan, si Sibat, kasi voluntary. Kung sa panahon nila puputok ito, same reasons, same ganun, sino makuha nila? Meron ko kundi, may iba sa trabaho, may iba papasok for the love of the country. But ilan lang? 110? By the time siguro, there would have been 160 million. Ilan lang ang papasok na ganitong trabaho? Papasok ka, mag-training ka. Lahat armas, mag-training, survival. Pero pag pumasok ka dyan, alam mo talaga pumasok ka para magpakamatay. Sino ngayon ang may mga taong gano'n? Wala. Ngayon kayo, pagkatapos ninyo, sino? Wala na. So yung lulutang na yung bayan natin, kaya kailangan ibalik ang ROTC. Hindi dahil gusto kong pahirapan ang mga bata, anak natin. Kung hindi, para sa kanila yan. You have a duty to perform to your country when you grow up. It is your duty to defend the identity and the preservation of the Republic.
Eagle News International will be right back. Stay tuned.
Para ugaliin ng pamilya ang responsableng panonood. Teamwork tayo, parents!
Rated G, good for all.
No,
Oops, rated PG.
Dapat may mga magulang para sagutin ang mga tanong ng kabataan.
Grabe! Rated SPG! Maselan!
Itan ang paggabay.
Pag rated MTRCB, rated responsable.
Welcome back. Samsung Electronics apologized to workers who developed cancer after working at some of its factories, finally ending a decade-long dispute at the world's top chip maker.
병으로 고통받고 있는 직원들과 그 가족분들께 진심으로 사과드립니다. 또한 삼성전자는 과거 반도체 및 LCD 사업장에서 건강 유해 인자에 의한 위험에 대해 충분하고 완벽하게 관리하지 못했습니다.
이만 마치도록 하겠습니다.
Wang Sanqi, who signed the agreement on behalf of the workers and their families, told reporters he was glad to have fulfilled his promise to his daughter, who died of leukemia in 2007, to prove Samsung was to blame for her death. But he went on to say this.
오늘 삼성전자 대표이사의 사과는 솔직히 직업병 피해 가족들에게는 충분하지는 않습니다. 수없이 속고 모욕당했던 일이나 직업병의 고통, 사랑하는 가족을 잃은 아픔을 생각하면 사실 그 어떤 사과도 충분할 수는 없을 겁니다.
Campaign groups say that about 240 people have suffered from work-related illnesses after being employed at Samsung Semiconductor and display factories, with around 80 of them, many of them young women, dying. Under a deal announced earlier this month, Samsung Electronics will pay the group's employees compensation of up to 150 million won or $133,000 per case. The scandal emerged in 2007 when former workers at its semiconductor and display factories in Suwon, south of Seoul, and their families said that staff had been diagnosed or died of various parts of cancer. Now, little is known about possible connections between the production process in the factories and the workers' illnesses, as Samsung has refused to disclose what specific chemical substances it uses, describing the information as a trade secret. And here's the apology.
병으로 고통받고 있는 직원들과 그 가족분들께 진심으로 사과드립니다. 또한 삼성전자는 과거 반도체 및 LCD 사업장에서 건강 유해 인자에 의한 위험에 대해 충분하고 완벽하게 관리하지 못했습니다.
이만 마치도록 하겠습니다.
Dolce & Gabbana abruptly canceled a major show scheduled in China after the Italian fashion brand faced backlash for social media posts many deemed disrespectful toward Chinese culture. Take a look. Now, the brand canceled their great show billed as a tribute to China just hours before it was set to begin, after several models and celebrities vowed to boycott the event over calls of racism. The controversy arose after Dolce & Gabbana posted short clips on Instagram earlier this week showing a woman eating pizza and spaghetti with chopsticks that some deemed culturally insensitive. Co-founder Stefano Gabbana then appeared to make the situation worse by making derogatory remarks facts about China in direct messages to a fashion writer on Instagram. The uproar has led to a movement calling for a boycott of D&G products. Some of China's biggest celebrities had been billed to attend the Great Show event, but on Wednesday, one after another announced their withdrawal. What happened today was very unfortunate, not only for us, but also for all the people who worked day and night to bring this event to life, Dolce & Gabbana's official account tweeted Wednesday, acknowledging the show's cancellation. From the bottom of our hearts, we would like to express our gratitude to our friends and guests. Now, to add insult to injury, a screenshot of private Instagram messages allegedly sent from co-founder Stefano Gabbana went viral. He has since claimed that his Instagram account has been hacked and that he did not send the messages filled with derogatory remarks aimed at critics of the ads.
那首先，我觉得中国是对奢侈品是一个很大的消费市场啊。那无论出自于什么样的需求，盗号也好，或者是再怎么样官宣也好，我觉得这个借口还是太小孩化了，然后不太过脑子这个举动。
Now, China's Kaola, an e-commerce platform belonging to China's NetEase, confirmed it had removed Dolce & Gabbana products, while the luxury goods retailer Seiko said it had removed the brand's listing on Wednesday evening. Pages that previously linked to Dolce & Gabbana items on the e-commerce sites hosted by Alibaba Group Holding and JD.com were no longer available, and searches for the brand returned no products. Celebrities, including the movie star Zhang Ziyi, have criticized the brand, while the singer Wang Junkai said he had terminated an agreement to be its ambassador. The Communist Party's Youth League said on Weibo, "We welcome foreign companies to invest and develop in China. Companies working in the country should respect China and Chinese people." U.S. President Donald Trump has doubled down on his partnership with Saudi Arabia, calling it an indispensable ally after a journalist's grisly murder. But critics say his position ignores Washington's enormous leverage over Riyadh. Now, Trump has said the CIA did not conclude that Saudi Crown Prince Mohammed bin Salman ordered the murder of journalist Jamal Khashoggi. Khashoggi was killed on October 2 in the Saudi consulate in Istanbul, and U.S. officials have reportedly said that such an operation would have needed the prince's approval. But Saudi Arabia maintains it was a rogue operation.
We have a very strong ally in Saudi Arabia. We have an ally that said they did not commit at the top level, the Crown Prince, the King, they did not commit this atrocity. I don't know if anyone's going to be able to conclude that the Crown Prince did it, but I will say this, I don't know. I don't know. But whether he did or whether he didn't, he denies it vehemently. His father denies it, the King, vehemently. The CIA doesn't say they did it. They do point out certain things, and in pointing out those things, you can conclude that maybe he did or maybe he didn't. But that was another part of the false reporting.
The Saudi insider turned critic was killed and dismembered in what Saudi Arabia said was a rogue operation. But CIA analysts leaked to the U.S. media pointed the finger at Prince Mohammed. Saudi Crown Prince Mohammed bin Salman embarked Thursday on a regional tour starting with the United Arab Emirates, his first official trip abroad since critic Jamal Khashoggi's murder tipped the kingdom into crisis. Turkey's President Recep Tayyip Erdogan could meet with Prince Mohammed on the sidelines of the G20 summit, according to a Turkish presidential spokesman. Such a meeting would be the first face-to-face encounter between the two since the killing that has tainted the image of both the Crown Prince and the kingdom. Now, Erdogan has said the order to murder Khashoggi came from the highest levels of the Saudi government, but has stopped short of directly blaming Prince Mohammed. In other news, the number of people falling into poverty in rural Latin America and the Caribbean increased by 2 million for the first time in a decade, according to a new Food and Agriculture Organization report. Authors of the report called this shift a historical reversal in efforts to improve livelihoods of the region's 59 million people, which last saw a setback of this magnitude in 2008 as a result of international financial crisis. Eliminating rural poverty would help tackle human and drug trafficking and involuntary and insecure migration, according to the report. The publication recommends creation of sustainable agriculture sectors, social protection programs, responsible management of natural resources, and intensifying investment in public services, among other measures, in order to achieve a key target for Sustainable Development Goal, SDG 1, reducing the number of people living in poverty by at least half by 2030. In other news, a driver who rammed his car into a group of school children, killing 5 and injuring 19 others, chose his target at random, following arguments with his wife, according to Chinese state media. The 29-year-old unemployed local resident of Liaoning province was contemplating suicide due to quarrels with his spouse before he drove his car into the children on Thursday, according to the official Xinhua news agency, citing police. The man chose his victims at random and he was driving it in Huludao City in China's northeast. The driver made a sudden turn into the opposite side of the road to hit the children who were crossing the street shortly after noon. State media said the collision took place near an elementary school. Police in Jianchang County have placed the attacker under criminal detention for endangering public security. And we're heading for another short break. Eagle News International will be right back. Stay tuned. President Duterte announced the termination of Housing and Urban Development Coordinating Council, or HUDCC, Secretary General Falconid Millar due to allegations of corruption. The president made the announcement during the inauguration of the Cavite Gateway Terminal, the country's first and only container barge port located in Barangay Capipi sa East Tansa, Cavite.
Just before I left my office, I signed a dismissal order, yung Secretary General ng Housing. A certain Millar, binabasa kong resume kanina, tinitignan kong termination. And what the guy has created for you. Is it valedictorian, sa low class and everything? But I don't know. And mahirap talaga You know, when you are there, Secretary General, you have the power, you have the authority. You can do corruption, and it can corrupt you, give you a little, or it corrupts you absolutely. So power corrupts, and sometimes it is really, you want your money to go to your pocket almost every day.
Now, Millar was dismissed 4 days after the palace announced the removal of 3 undersecretaries of the Department of Social Welfare and Development. Aside from being HUDCC Secretary General, Millar was also Secretariat Head of Task Force Bangon Marawi, which is in charge of Marawi City rehabilitation. Millar, for his part, said he resigned from his post and that there was a demolition job against him. And these are the people he had annoyed because he protected the government's interests. In other business news, Nissan's former chairman Carlos Ghosn underreported his income by a total of $71 million, much more than initially suspected, according to Japanese media. The Brazil-born tycoon is now reportedly set to face a new charge from prosecutors after he was sacked as Nissan chairman to top a spectacular fall from grace for the once revered boss, whose fall has stunned the business world. Prosecutors arrested Ghosn on Monday, accusing him and fellow executive Greg Kelly of understating the former chairman's income by around 5 billion yen, or $44 million between June 2011 and June 2015. But Ghosn is now suspected of underreporting his earnings by another 3 billion yen for the following 3 fiscal years, according to the Asahi Shimbun and the Nikkei Business Daily. Prosecutors are now planning to rearrest him on charges of understating his income by a total of 8 billion yen, or $71 million since June 2011. Now, under Japanese law, suspects in jail can face additional arrest warrants, which can impose heavier charges. Ghosn is also suspected of failing to report a profit of 4 billion yen through stock appreciation rights, a method for firms to give management a bonus on strong earnings. Separately, the Kyoto News Agency has reported that Nissan had paid $100,000 a year since 2002 to Ghosn's sister, who had no record of doing advisory work for the group. Deputy Chief Prosecutor Shin Kukimoto said the Ghosn case is, quote, one of the most serious types of crime under Japan's Financial Instruments Act, and Ghosn could face a 10-year prison sentence. Meanwhile, opinions are divided among Japanese after the board of Nissan sacked Carlos Ghosn as chairman. Take a look.
これまでその日産に対してすごくその利益をいっぱい出してるから、もらってる金額とかそういうのに対してはあんまり違和感がなくて、たくさん当然もらっていいもんかなっていうふうに思ってます。
今回のカルロス・ゴーンさんがしてきたことっていうのはやっぱりかつてその人が言っていたことと反することだと思いますし、やはり企業として許されることではないと思いますね。
カリスマ性の高い経営者の方だったのかなっていうふうに思いますね。これ日本人にはない能力とかスキルがあったのかなって思います。会長に戻らないとしても今までやってきたノウハウの蓄積とかも多分あると思うので、そういう面ではなんか1回のことだけでゼロになってしまうのは違うのかなと思います。
In other news, Prime Minister Theresa May fends off heavy opposition in Parliament, including from her own former Brexit secretary, after Britain and the EU agreed on the outlines of post-Brexit ties as part of a draft deal due to be signed off by EU leaders.
We have been working constructively with the governments of Spain and Gibraltar in the negotiations on the withdrawal agreement, and we want this work to continue in the future relationship. but I was absolutely clear that Gibraltar's British sovereignty will be protected.
This empty document could have been written 2 years ago. It's peppered with phrases such as, the parties will look at, the parties will explore. What on earth has the government been doing for the last 2 years? They've managed less than 1 page a month since the referendum.
The top reason people voted to leave the EU was to take back democratic control over our laws. Isn't it the regrettable but inescapable reality that this deal gives even more away?
Now, as Britain heads for a weekend summit designed to seal its impending departure from the European Union, Spain is threatening to throw a last-minute spanner in the works over the tiny peninsula of Gibraltar. Madrid, which has long laid claim to the overseas British territory attached to the Spanish mainland, is threatening to derail the whole Brexit process over the status of the rock, population barely 30,000. Spain fears the withdrawal deal does not explicitly hand it a post-Brexit veto on future relations between the EU and Gibraltar, which in a 2002 referendum voted overwhelmingly against shared sovereignty between London and Madrid.
Aquí no hay tanto trabajo como dicen que hay, entonces hay mucha gente que acude a Gibraltar porque reciben mejor salario y hay más oportunidades.
Si mañana cierra, nos quedamos sin trabajar, entonces no hay con qué pagar la deuda, no hay con qué pagar la casa, que estamos aquí en España.
Now, Gibraltar has close to full employment, and it has long been a lifeline for people who live in the adjacent area of Spain known as El Campo de Gibraltar, which has one of the European Union's highest jobless rates. But when Brexit comes, it could mean tighter controls at what would be a new border between Britain and the European Union, which could jeopardize the easy flow of people that has benefited both Gibraltar and El Campo. In other business news, South Africa and South Sudan signed an outline agreement that could see Pretoria invest around $1 billion in South Sudan's struggling oil industry. Now, the agreement, which will be subject to detailed negotiations between the countries, was made between two state-owned companies, South Africa's Central Energy Fund and South Sudan's Nile Petroleum Corporation. South Sudan's oil minister, Ezekiel Lol Gatkut, said the investment will go into building a refinery and pipelines, as well as oil exploration and training of workers and engineers. South Sudan currently produces around 155,000 barrels per day, less than half of what production was at the start of the latest civil war in December 2013. The country doesn't have its own refinery, so it currently sends crude by pipeline across the northern border to Sudan for processing and export, and imports refined fuels. The agreement between the two countries comes a day after South Sudan hosted a 3-day oil and power conference in Juba aimed at attracting investors.
The oil and gas sector is the foundation of our economy, making up the majority of our country GDP and government budget. South Sudan severely lacks infrastructure, from road to pipeline to power capacity, but developing the oil and gas sector will enable investment in infrastructure to move forward.
The South Sudan's warring parties in September just signed a new peace deal to end 5 years of civil war that has killed an estimated 380,000 people and crippled the oil industry, which funded about 98% of its budget. And the news continues here on Eagle News International. We'll be right back. Stay tuned. The levels of greenhouse gases in the atmosphere, the main driver of climate change, have hit a new record high according to the UN, warning that the time to act was running out. The Greenhouse Gas Bulletin, the UN Weather Agency's annual flagship report, tracks the content of dangerous gases in the atmosphere since 1750.
Again today we come to you with a new record height, the assessment tells us that CO2 concentrations in 2017, global abundance is 405.5 parts per million, CHY methane 1,859 parts per billion, and nitrous oxide 329.9 parts per billion.
The latest findings come after a report from the UN's Intergovernmental Panel on Climate Change found net emissions of carbon dioxide must reach zero by around 2050 to keep temperature rises to 1.5 degrees Celsius above pre-industrial levels and reduce the risks of climate change. In their annual Greenhouse Gas Bulletin, the World Meteorological Organization says there is no sign of reversal in this rising trend.
The 2017 concentration in the atmosphere of CO2 is 46% higher than in pre-industrial, 1750 year. The report indicates that for the last almost 20 years, from 1990, we have observed 41% increase of warming effect. Only CO2 alone contributes 82% to this increase. The last time Earth had concentration of CO2 of 400 parts per million was about 3 to 5 million years ago. And at that time, the reconstruction tells us that the average mean surface temperature was 2 or 3 degrees higher than now, and the sea level was 10 to 20 meters higher.
In other news, a group of Japanese grannies aged 60 to 80 glide through the water, sometimes holding their breath for over a minute to collect shellfish. They are part of a community in Japan of ama, free-diving fisherwomen, which has seen its numbers dwindle as the next general have left in search of more stable jobs. Take a look.
More 潮が澄んでると、人魚になったみたいな魚がいっぱい泳いでたりこうするとすごく気持ちがいいですよ。全身運動するし楽しいからやっぱしそれだけ若返るんやろね80まで行ってる人がいるで、やっぱそれぐらいまでは元気でおりたいなって
昔やったら中学卒業したらもう海女さんになれたけど、今女の子って海女さんになって生活ができへん。まず海女さんの所得を上げるにはどうしたらええか、ね、やっぱり海女さんを増やしてくるにはまず所得があって。
All right, in hockey, it's the second game of the 16th annual CIBC Canada-Russia series. Let's get an update from Anthony Sevilla.
It's the second game of the 16th annual CIBC Canada-Russia series, where the Russian junior national team faces off against all three of the major junior ice hockey leagues in the Canadian Hockey League. Team Russia fell short to the Western Hockey League 2-1 in the opening game in Kamloops, British Columbia last Monday. However, in Game 2, Team Russia, led by Bulat Shafagulin, scored the game-winning goal to beat Team WHL 3-1. Team WHL dominated most of the first period, as Ty Smith got the first goal of the game from midway through. However, Russia caught a break near the end of the period and tied up the game 1-1. After a scoreless second period, Team Russia momentum shifted in the third, adding a power play goal and an empty net goal to steal the win. Strong goaltending from Peter Kochikov for Team Russia played a big part in the victory, who had a game-high 33 saves. Head coach for Team WHL, Tim Hunter, expressed his thoughts on the game and the task ahead of the selection process for Team Canada at the World Juniors.
It was a good first period, but I think we ran out of gas a little bit tonight. A lot of guys playing 4 games in 5 nights, and they pushed the pace. A fast team. It's probably the fastest most of the guys in WHL have played this season. We have a great group of players to select from in Canada, and you want competition at positions, and you want lots of players that you have to make a decision on, and that's what we get paid for, is to make those tough decisions, and that's why it's not just me making the decisions. There's lots of guys in on it.
Several players from Team WHL and Team Russia give their thoughts on this experience and the potential to play at the upcoming World Junior Championships in Vancouver in 2019.
It's unbelievable, obviously, getting this opportunity. You want to be a part of this, and you come here and try and take as much from it as you can. And I think getting to know the guys and the coaching staff, stuff like that, I think that's going to be super important for the rest of the year. That would be huge. Obviously, growing up as a kid, you watch World Juniors at Christmas every year. So hopefully, getting that opportunity, that would be very good for your confidence, and it would be an unbelievable experience.
Obviously, it wasn't the result we wanted, but you know what happens. It's sport. Someone's gonna have to win and lose, and yeah, went back on it. I think the team played well in front of me and really helped me out there. Yeah, obviously this is a good stepping stone for me. It's my first time doing international competition, and obviously it's a really good confidence builder.
We played a pretty good game. First period was a little struggling, but then we get better, learning our mistakes, and scoring the power play. Then everyone feels it's like our game, so we play really good, I think. I don't really think about it, but I think I show some things, some really good things, and I proved that I deserve to play in World Junior this year. And mostly I don't think about it. I mostly think about the game results and our team.
Team Russia will leave the West Coast 1-1, where they will finish the series out east to take on the Ontario Hockey League. Reporting from Canada-Russia series at the Langley Event Center, I'm Anthony Sevilla, and I'm 1 with 25.
Thank you, Anthony. In other news, the New York City subway system covers more than 665 miles of track over 5 boroughs. Now, knowing what train to take and when to get off can be really confusing for non-locals and New Yorkers alike, especially when it's jam-packed now that it's holiday season. Abigail Mayo will give us some tips on how to survive the New York subway.
Hey Nesters, welcome back to Times Square in New York City. While the lights and opulent billboards can draw you in, can you believe that underneath all of this is all of this? The Metropolitan Transportation Authority, or MTA, is the most complex public transportation system in the world. So if it's your first time navigating through it, the experience can be a little bit daunting. So here are some digital Nest tips on how to make your way through the MTA.
Your MetroCard is the key to your subway journey, so make sure you buy one before you head to the turnstiles. A machine should be located right before you enter. So make your way and press the start button and follow the instructions as they appear. Make your payment, and voila! Your MetroCard is ready for you to use. Before entering the turnstile, you have to swipe your MetroCard in order to go through. Remember, not too fast and not too slow. But don't worry, Even some locals haven't mastered the art of the perfect swipe. Point A to point B. Make sure to not only know where your destination is, but where you're coming from. That way you can map out how to get to your endpoint. In this case, we're coming from Times Square on 42nd Street to the Upper West Side to Lincoln Center on 66th Street, using the 1 train. Still a little confused on how to make your way? Digital information centers are available at various subway stations throughout New York. All you have to do is enter your location and where you're going, and it'll map out exactly how to get to your destination. Do you know where you're going? No, really. Do you really know where you're going? Is it uptown or downtown? Did you make a mistake? It's alright. You can always retrace your steps and go the right direction.
And clear the closed doors, please.
Pay attention to the notices that are posted on the walls of the subway. One change could affect your entire trip, so plan accordingly. And there you have it, digital nest tips on how to make your way through the MTA. Make sure to remember these tips to keep subway savvy. This has been your EBC correspondent, Abby Mayo, 1 with 25.
Thank you, Abby, and that's it for tonight's broadcast. For everyone here at Eagle News International, I'm Alma Angeles, always 1 with 25. Good night.